Hi students, welcome back. This is the next introductory video about Dreamweaver HTML CSS. You had just set up your copy, you put your copy in here, we've put no images there whatsoever yet. Let's just hold on to that for now, okay? We could have put images in, but let's wait till we start to stylize things. I want to show you a basic website. You're very familiar, probably too familiar with this website, okay? Troy University, here it is in a browser window, Safari browser window. Most people like Chrome or Firefox, some despise Internet Explorer. Safari is so indigenous with the Mac, so I use it a lot. But notice this. This is typically this bar that goes, this banner that goes all the way across the type is not, the browser window is not uncommon. This is what we call a header. And we're going to make a container that's called a header. The second row down here is not uncommon, is to have basically a fancy navigation bar, okay, where tabs and links are. Of course, this is a pretty robust website. It's Troy University. It's got a lot of thousands of students and tens of thousands of users, so it's going to be huge. Then we have something else in here. You can see a background where they've got some of this kind of diagonal. Let me zoom in there just for a second. You can see kind of this pattern. That's a background. It's partially white and partly this textured pattern. And then we've got something else that's very common in a website. You have the main content area, but we really call it a wrapper. You know, it's not like P. Diddy. It's just a wrapper, W-R-A-P-P-E-R. And what it means is a box or a container that wraps around all the other elements. As you can see inside this wrapper, here's another container, kind of a header, and here's four pictures that are in boxes. Here's some other links that are in boxes, some main content text, some of these we call a sidebar, right column, left column, etc., etc. And then you typically have a footer at the bottom of a web page. A little more about that later. I just want to see the common structure. What we want to do is we want to create a header. I want to create a nav bar. I want to have a main content area. That's it, and a footer. We're going to make it that simple. So let's get back to our code, okay? By the way, save this. We haven't even saved this yet. Shame on me. Let's do this. But we need to save it in our folder. Let me show you. We're going to say File, Save As. All right? A main page on a website is always called index. I-N-D-E-X. And remember, not capital I. Look closely. Make sure you have a lowercase I-N-D-E-X. I'm not going to save it on the desktop. I'm going to save it inside my folder. So let me find my folder on the desktop, and my folder was called Jerry Johnson _site, and I'm just going to put it in my folder. I'm not going to put it in working files. I'm not going to put it in images. It's my website, my main page, and it's going to be there. So I'm just basically naming it and putting it inside my folder. It's important that it go there, not anywhere else. Look closer to make sure. Inside your website, it just should be your name _website, and then you say save, and you put it in there, okay? And we will notice when I zoom out that now my file up here in the top left corner, this tab right here, is actually index.html. I'm so glad to see that. What that means is hypertext markup language. Remember, this really isn't code. We call it code, but it's really a markup language, and there is a difference, but it's not that important that we get into it. All right. I've got my file saved, and it's got all my text in it. It's not stylized beautifully, but I do have the paragraph breaks, and I kind of see the difference between my headlines and my body copy, so that's the beginning point. And we get to the other part now where we begin to stylize. Some other things, though, just to show you. For example, if I wanted the word ballooning to be a hyperlink, and a hyperlink means it is now linking this word or this element to another website or to another page or to some other place on this page. If you can do this, you can actually highlight a word, come down to your property bar at the very bottom. Notice where it says link. Yeah, down at the very bottom of the property bar. Let me just do this. I'm going to say http://www.troy.edu. Okay, that's a link. All right, and you do it right here. It's going to insert the code for you in Dreamweaver. I'll show you that in a moment. And target right next to the right, what this means is if you want this link, this new link, when I click on that word ballooning, I want it to go to Troy University, then I want it to open in a new window. I need to click on target here and select blank. And it's going to open itself in a new window. Let's look what happened to the code. Now this is far more than I want you to memorize, but see where it says get involved in, and then it says an attribute. It's referencing this website, http:// etc. troy.edu. Target equals blank, and it's got the word ballooning, and then it closes. So I've got this attribute anchor that opens, and then this one that closes. So there's the open, and then there's the close. It's still got strong. It's still got H2. You know, those things, and it always goes in reverse order. So if you start ABC before the word, and these are tags, then after the tag you close it CBA. You go in just the reverse order that you started. Well, let me look up here and let's see what happens oh my goodness, look. Ballooning now has an underscore and it's blue. What does this mean? It means it's a link. Let me preview this. By the way, if you preview it, you can see if it works. So let's just try it. I'm going to zoom out so all things are somewhat balanced. And to do it, I actually have to, I'm going to save it. Always have to save it, but I'm going to say File, Save As, or just Save. It's indexed already in my folder. I'm going to hit this Preview button right here. It says Preview in Safari, Chrome. I don't know what yours is going to say. If it doesn't say anything, you really need to open it up in the browser, or you can actually take your file like this. You can take your file off of out of your folder if you wanted to. Your index file. See how my index file is saved here? I could drag it down into my browser window, and and boom, it opens up. By the way, this shows me exactly what it looks like as a website. Now that's not beautiful, is it? But that's what we've got so far in a very little short amount of time. We've got some nice organization. I've got some hierarchy here, so I can see that I've even got a link here. But notice this link, when you mouse over it, it turns into the famous pointer finger. So it's now active link. I click on it. It took me, look, it opened a new window and it went to troy.edu. So that was successful. Nice that you learned how to make a hyperlink, because you may want to have one of those on your web page. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go back to my code and in Dreamweaver, and let's get back there and continue working. All right, you can see my property bar down below, and make sure I'm zoomed out. I want to take this hyperlink off. I'm going to highlight the word ballooning, not baloney, and I want to just delete it down here, okay? I don't want in that link that to be there any longer. So now it's back. By the way, links, by default, a link is blue and underlined, underscored. By default, if you don't do any stylization. If a link has been visited, you've probably seen it, it turns into a purplish color, a violet color. If there's also something called active, when you mouse over it and you kind of click down, it turns yellow. So there's these other things that you can do to stylize the links. We want to do this in CSS though. I want to do my alignment in CSS. You could do this. You could say, I'm going to select all my text. I'm going to say select all. Okay, make sure you're clicked on the right side, select all. And I could make all of this align center. I could put the center tag around everything. We don't want to do that, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to show you. I'm putting center. All right, then after all of my text, way down here before body closes, see where body's closing down here? I'm going to say close center. All right, what's going to happen? Everything's centered. Now, I don't dare you to do this, but I beg you to not do this. Don't ever line center text, okay? It's just the easy, cheap way out, because people don't know how to use a grid oftentimes, so just don't do that. So let me zoom in just a little bit more. All right, I want to undo that. I don't know if I can go back, edit, undo, get my alignment out of here. Edit, undo, get out of here. Get that center tag out of there. If I needed to, I could just go delete, undo. I mean, let's go up here in my code and delete that center tag, okay? All is well in my world again. All right, now, this is going to be the introduction to stylization, the introduction to CSS. You know, you can make things italics, you can make things different colors, but those are stylization things. We'll do that later. So right now, before we do CSS, let me stop here as your basic introduction to Dreamweaver. There's things called site management. You know, if we're really working with a website, we would want to know more about that, and I'll let you go to that level if you should want to. There's all kinds of properties through these menus that you could select, but primarily we're doing this with code, a combination of code and this WYSIWYG Dreamweaver application to kind of help us along with the code. If you look at the difference, here's the code all by itself. It might be a little frightening to you, but this is really very little. It's just a few tags. But so far, in a few tags, you made something look, especially if it was not so wide. You see this here on the left. This looks quite organized. All right. Enough for this video. I'll see you in just a moment.